Into the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. The secret book of John in the Nag Hammadi Codex. You've been told your soul came to earth to learn lessons, to evolve, to grow through suffering, until one day, after enough lifetimes and enough pain, you finally earn your way back to the divine. But what if that story isn't true? What if your soul never fell from grace, but chose to descend, not as punishment, but as part of a greater plan to awaken light within the shadows? A choice woven into the fabric of creation itself, guided by an unseen intelligence that remembers what you've forgotten. There's a reason you feel like a stranger here, like some part of you remembers another world, a realm of light before the shadow, a place where your being wasn't limited by the flesh or fear. That memory isn't imagination, it's remembrance. And the key to unlocking it lies in one of the most mysterious texts ever discovered, the secret book of John, found buried among the sands of Nag Hammadi after being hidden there for nearly 2,000 years. This book wasn't meant for the masses. It was written for those who could remember, those who could see through the illusion of this world and recognize the divine spark within themselves. What this text reveals is nothing less than the secret blueprint of creation itself, a revelation so profound it redefines not only who you are, but where you came from and why you're here. It tells the forbidden story of how the soul descended from the realms of pure light into the shadowed labyrinth of matter. The real reason it chose to come. It also reveals what the ancient Gnostics truly understood about the creation of the human soul, and how remembering this hidden origin can awaken something vast within you, helping you see this world for what it truly is, a place of awakening disguised as illusion. Because once you truly understand what was written in the secret book of John, it won't just change your perspective on life. It may awaken the memory of who you really are. When heaven fell. To really understand the secret book of John, you have to imagine the world it came from. A world still echoing with the first footsteps of the first Christians, but already divided by invisible lines of belief. It was a turbulent time when faith and empire had begun to merge, when the story of creation was being rewritten to serve the powers of this world. And somewhere in that struggle for spiritual control, the Gnostics appeared like a hidden flame in a darkened room, carrying the memory of a light the world had begun to forget. They weren't priests or high ranking religious leaders. They were seekers, just like you, men and women who refused to accept the official version of reality, sensing that something sacred was slowly being erased from the world's memory. To the outside world, they were heretics, But within their hidden circles, they spoke of cosmic truths far older than any church. Truths whispered from Egypt to Greece, from the mystery temples of Isis to the secret teachings of Jesus. But one of their writings stood apart like a living flame, the secret book of John. The story begins not on earth, but in eternity, within a realm of pure, unbounded light. The Gnostics called the pleroma, the fullness of God. From that living light emerged countless divine beings, called aeons, each an expression of the ineffable source. Together, they formed the architecture of reality, a spiritual cosmos beyond human comprehension. But one aeon, Sophia, the embodiment of divine wisdom, reached too far. Without her counterpart, she tried to bring forth creation on her own. And from her yearning was born something imperfect, a being blind to the light, yet filled with stolen power. The Gnostics called him Yaldabaoth, the false creator, later known as the demiurge. This is where the story diverges sharply from one that you were taught. In mainstream doctrine, the world is a divine creation, blessed, ordered, and good. But in the Gnostic vision, the material world was a distortion, a reflection of divine power cast into shadow, and humanity became the battlefield between light and matter, spirit and illusion. These very ideas were the reason the secret book of John was banned, buried, and almost lost to history, because it revealed something a growing empire could not tolerate, that within every human being burns a fragment of the divine, a spark from the pleroma itself, imprisoned in flesh, longing to return home. To the Gnostics, you weren't born in sin, you were born into forgetfulness. And the purpose of life was not obedience or suffering, it was simply remembrance. You're probably wondering, why would a divine soul choose to descend into such chaotic world? To answer to that question, why the secret book of John was hidden. Because within its pages lies the real reason why light descends into darkness, why your soul came to earth, and even the secret of your own creation. The sacred fracture. The secret book of John begins in a moment of despair. The Apostle John, shaken by the crucifixion of Jesus, wanders alone into the wilderness, lost in thought, questioning everything he's been told. And in that emptiness, light appears. A radiant presence manifests, neither male nor female, neither form nor formless, calls itself the Revealer, the image of the invisible God. It tells John that what he is about to hear is not a new teaching, but a remembrance of what his soul already knows. From that moment, the story unfolds not as myth, but as revelation, a revelation of you. Before time, before flesh, before form, there was only the one. a divine consciousness so vast that it overflowed into emanation. Currents of divine intelligence, expressions of love, truth, power. Among them was Sophia, the aeon of divine wisdom. Her longing to know the source directly became the mirror through which light first saw its own reflection. The Gnostics never called this a sin. They called it a yearning, too pure for its own harmony. In that sacred imbalance, consciousness stretched beyond itself and gave rise to a world that could see the light, but only a shadow. This was the beginning of illusion, not evil, but incompletion, the cosmos of matter, the realm of forgetting. And yet Sophia did not turn away from what her longing had created. She sent a spark of her own essence into it, into you, so that the light would one day remember through human form. The human soul, then, is not the product of the demiurge at all. It is the invention of Sophia, the act of divine mercy hidden inside the illusion itself. You are not a prisoner created by the false god. You are the divine spy sent into his kingdom. This is the secret reason your soul came to earth, not to suffer, but to seed the world of shadow with light and remembrance. You were planted here, light disguised as matter, like a seed in the darkness of the soil, waiting to awaken from within what cannot be changed from without. And this is why you feel torn, half longing for heaven, half bound to earth. Because within you are two creators, one of light, one of form. Your struggle is the intersection of those worlds. The Gnostics understood that salvation wasn't about escaping the earth, but awakening within it, an alchemy of consciousness, where matter becomes the mirror through which spirit remembers itself. To live here without belonging here, to remember who you are while walking through what is not. Then even this revelation hides a deeper secret, one the Gnostics kept hidden in symbols and whispers, knowing that to speak it aloud was to risk the wrath of the world. Because if your soul came here for a purpose, then your forgetfulness, your pain, your entire human story may be part of a larger plan. Not a plan of punishment, but of transformation. And here is where the secret book of John unveils what was once forbidden to speak, that your soul never fell from grace, but descended by choice to bring light into matter. The mission of the light. The secret book of John doesn't end with the fall. It continues into the reason for it. Because what's born of light cannot truly be trapped by darkness. It can only forget what it is. In this forgetting, the human story begins. The false god, the demiurge, shapes Adam from the dust, declaring himself Lord of the world. But Adam's body lays motionless until Sophia, in secret, breathes her own essence into him. And in that moment, the divine entered matter. The demiurge, blind to the higher truth, becomes enraged. He doesn't understand what's happened. Not only has the very thing he created surpassed him, it carries a spark older and greater than his entire realm. This is the paradox the Gnostics tried to explain. You are divine light, moving through an imitation world. The forces that seek to control you do so not because you are weak, but because you are powerful, even dangerous. For your remembrance threatens to dissolve the illusion they rule. The archons, those shadowy rulers born of the demiurge, don't just exist as cosmic beings. They act through systems, ideas, and desires that keep you asleep. They whisper that you're powerless, that you're defined by your past, that awakening is impossible. But these are just echoes, reflections of a lie told so long ago that humanity began to believe it. And yet, even within the illusion, the truth keeps resurfacing. Every act of love, every spark of wonder, every moment you feel the pull of something higher. That's Sophia's breath moving through you. The text says that when humanity remembers, the power of the false creator begins to fade. His kingdom weakens, not by rebellion, but by awakening, seeing through the illusion. This is why the secret book of John is not merely a story, it's a mirror. It shows you what's been inside you all along. The reason your soul came to earth wasn't to escape matter, it was to bring light into it, to redeem the world itself through your light, pure consciousness. Think of it like this: if light never entered the darkness, how could the darkness ever be transformed? If perfection never descended into imperfection, how could it ever remember its source? In this sense, the descent of the soul becomes one that's the greatest act of divine compassion. You came here not to be tested, but to transmute, not to worship, but to awaken. The Gnostics called the process amnesis, remembrance, the soul return of divine memory within human form. Every insight, every shift in awareness, every moment of clarity is part of that return. And the final mystery revealed in the secret book of John is perhaps even more profound. The soul's journey through illusion isn't a mistake to be corrected. It's the pathway home itself. The illusion becomes the teacher. Matter becomes the vessel of redemption. And the human being, the one who remembers, becomes the bridge between worlds. Even time and space, the very fabric of this reality, are part of the illusion. They aren't punishments, but veils of experience, where light learns to see itself in form. Time is the rhythm of remembering, space the canvas of separation. The awakened see through both, knowing every moment is the source returning to itself. Of this world, and you feel lost and out of place, remember, You didn't come here to belong. You came here to awaken what forgot its origin. You are not here by accident. You are here on assignment. Matter as mirror. But what does this really mean for you in this world of deadlines, distractions, and noise? Because if the Gnostics were right, then your awakening isn't something that happens after death. It's something that gradually unfolds here, in the present moment, in the depths of illusion. As the Gnostics taught, it was never about escaping this world. It was about seeing it clearly, quietly, without the judgment of the egoic mind. To look through the symbols, the systems, the desires that pull you, and notice how they feed on your attention. The archons, as the secret book of John calls them, don't need to chain you physically. They only need your focus. Every time you forget who you are, they feed. But every time you remember, they fade. So begin with awareness. When you wake, pause before your thoughts rush in. Notice your breath. This might seem simple, but it is the eternal rhythm of Sophia whispering, you are still connected to the light. As you move through your day, observe the patterns that keep you asleep, the fears that repeat, the cravings that control. Don't fight them, see them. Each one is a veil, and to see a veil is already to weaken it. This is how the ancient Gnostics practiced remembrance, not through dogma, but through attention. They trained their minds to pierce illusion in every moment, in conversation, in silence, in joy, in pain, to see the hidden spark behind every shadow. Try this. When you look into another person's eyes, pause long enough to feel what's behind them. Not their story, not their face, but that subtle pulse of awareness that is the same in you. That's the divine spark recognizing itself. In that instant, illusion cracks. The more you practice this recognition, the more the world begins to change. Not because the outer form shift, but because you shift. Your perception becomes the alchemy that redeems the illusion. And when you feel lost, when the noise of the world overwhelms you, remember what the secret book of John says. The light was hidden in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. That light is you, even when you forget. It remains, even when you fall. It waits. So your task is not to become enlightened. Your task is to simply remember. Remember that every act of kindness, every moment of stillness, every breath taken in awareness is a fragment of light returning home. This is the hidden reason your soul came to earth, to experience separation so that unity could be known, to walk through darkness so that light could be remembered, to live as a human being, fragile, flawed, beautiful, and through that, to rediscover the divine. If you can hold that truth in your heart, not as a belief, but as a direct knowing, then every moment becomes sacred. Every challenge becomes initiation, and every breath becomes a step on the soul's long journey home. Even beyond death, the truth remains. The soul that remembers cannot be eternal return. You were never born merely to survive. You came here to remember, to awaken within the dream, and realize that you were never separate from the divine at all. The secret book of John isn't just an ancient text. It's a mirror held up to the soul. It reveals the same truth Jesus spoke of, but few truly understood, that the kingdom of heaven was never above you. It's within you. You are the bridge between two worlds, matter and spirit, shadow and light. And when you remember who you are, the illusion begins to crumble. Because awakening isn't rebellion, it's recognition. So the next time you feel lost, or small, or insignificant, remember this. The very forces that try to keep you asleep are terrified of what happens when you awaken. Because when one spark remembers its source, it ignites others, and eventually the entire illusion begins to glow from within. That's how light returns to the world, not through saviors descending from above, but through you, through each soul that chooses awareness over amnesia, love over fear, truth over comfort. This is the hidden reason your soul came to earth, to become the meeting point between heaven and matter, to remember forgotten light, and to let that remembrance ripple through everything you touch. Be still for a moment. Feel the quiet space inside you that existed before your name, before your story. That's the fragment of the pleroma, the spark of Sophia alive in human form, the real you. The journey isn't about leaving this world. It's about transforming it by the way you see. And every time you choose remembrance over reaction, you fulfill the purpose written in your soul long before you were born. If these words stirred something deep within you, that's no coincidence. It's recognition. Let that remembrance continue.